Alright, hi guys, ladies and gentlemen, we're here. As I mentioned last week, working on the AFV Club Striker photo etch set, which is a big head. Show you what the piece of armor actually looks like here. This is what we're attempting to do. So this piece here there's a big edge set for it. It includes all sorts of fun details as we're going to use. I'm going to try today working on what's called the additional armor to the set. The last time I did a class, I was working on the RPG armor, or as they call it, the slat armor, which is this whole set right here. This one set is just the slat armor, which is the part of the it's like a fence around the piece of equipment. I do have a piece of it put together somewhere. Yeah, it's right here. So I can kind of show you, because the last class that I did this piece here. This one part here. It's basically, this part here is actually the front of the vehicle. Then you have the little posts that hold the armor in place, sitting on the outer part. There's a little piece that goes in here, which is actually right here. Part of the other thing I wanted to do is actually bend up a couple of these little posts like this, because these are flat pieces that turn into a post. That's what it turns into. The other thing I'll be doing is I'll be soldering the photo etch together, only because this one is so complex. I built one of these in the past, super glued it. I had the whole set put together and ready to put onto the model, and I bumped the platform and it went onto the floor, and I had to reassemble 90% of it. And at that point in time, I said, if I'm going to do another one, I'm going to learn how to solder it. So that's what I'm attempting to do here. I have some tools here to show you. I have this here, which is the Small Shop 8-inch hold and fold. Then I have a Mission Models tool here that does round parts fairly well. Then of course I got tweezers, hobby knives, files, because you need a file to file down the things. And then in the hold and fold they give you a couple of round pieces of acrylic plastic to actually roll your, make round parts if you need to. Let's see what's got here. I think that's pretty much what I've got. The iron that I'm using is a 30 watt. I've custom made the tip, so it's a real fine tip, as you can see here. Because the finer the tip, the more control you have over a finer part. Here's another piece that I have soldered together for the set. So we're going to get started here. I've looked at the instructions, and first thing I'm going to do is going to cut off a few of these bigger pieces here, and I'll show you how to bend them, because this here is a fairly good sized piece you need to bend. I've got a piece of glass here. Glass is a great thing to solder on. And the reason why I say that is because basically the glass is going to hold the heat right where the solder joint is, and it's not going to melt. The other thing I like to use to cut the pieces off is a piece of plexiglass or acrylic, hard acrylic. Works really well.
You only got one person in your class?
So far.
Oh, is that your work car?
Yep.
Hey, where do I know you from?
From 19.
Oh, weird. When?
I was there from 75 to 94.
Oh, wow. Where?
It was over at headquarters. You were in maintenance.
That's weird. So you walk in and I'm like, I know that guy's face. I just couldn't place you.
Yeah.
So in our crowd today we have Mike here, and then we also have a gentleman by the name Dave. They seem to know each other better than we expected.
Backgrounds go a long ways.
Yes, isn't true. So I've got my file here. What I'm doing here is I'm cutting off the little nubs here, filing these off.
Touching point.
Yep. And what I did with that is I used a real sharp blade, put it right up against the edge of the part where the thing is, and I pushed down in towards it. It helps cut the part. So now I have my piece here. The fun thing is with these, you can do lots of different bends and folds and all that other fun stuff with them. The other thing I like to use when I'm doing photo etch is a straight edge single side razor blade, which are these things here. These guys. These work wonderful. The reason why I say that is they help control your position of the photo etch into your bender. You take this, slip it up underneath, and you bend it 90 degrees. So now we have this piece bent 90 degrees. I think I bent it the right way. Yep, I bent it the right way. And now what I'll do is I'll turn it around this way and do the same thing. Slip it up underneath, use the blade to hold it in place, and clamp it down. And then slip underneath and bend it up. And up to a 90 degree. They're sometimes a little bit tricky. So if you don't get it perfectly 90 degree, there's a great thing about these tools is usually there's a design of a flat, like a 90 degree angle in there. You can take that, take your tool and push in on the corner and it'll pull it 90 degrees for you.
You never tap that with a hammer or anything?
What's that?
When you're doing that, have you ever tried just tapping it with a hammer?
It's usually soft enough you don't have to.
Okay.
What is the material that photo etch is made out of?
Photo etch is made out of a real thin brass. Okay. Is usually what it's made out of. And then the smaller pieces, you can take a pair of tweezers if you want, like this here, since this has pre-bent things here on the back side, and you can roll it. It'll just roll over for you. They do make photo etch tweezers that are kind of nifty. They're a flat, and you can just make it nice and neat. I think they're made by Tamiya, if I remember right. So now we have our first piece here. Set that there for the time being. We'll keep continuing on those parts. Set that out of the way. Take this. So I'm going to cut some more here. I'm going to actually, like I said, put the knife on a 45 blade, kind of on a 45, so I'm cutting towards the piece, and I'm pressing down. It has a fresh blade in it, only because it makes it easier to cut through the real thin brass for the parts that are the tree parts. So this is the next piece I'm going to bend here. You can kind of tell exactly how they're supposed to bend because of the way they put the bend lines in it. So this side here, this will fold double over this way. Then on the back side here, this will fold over this way. This is what it'll do. In my trusty file to take down the nubs. Sit down and fold it up on me if I want to. So we'll take our bender again. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to start on the first line, push it in a little further and start with the smaller one first. Okay. Loosen one end, pull it slide out, so now I have a 90 degree for the first one. And then I'll do it again here. So it actually bends up a nice little U shape here. And now the fun part is I get to show you a little bit of the soldering technique now. So I'll take my tweezers and I'll bend the two ends over. Now this piece here, this little bend that's right here, it's going to have to bend this way. So now that I already have these bent, the fun part is figuring out how to bend that. Now the great thing is this little tool here. I'll show you a little trick here. You can actually do it a couple of different ways. Since this side here seems to have a big enough piece that I can use, I will slide this in here. Not this side down, so it's. I'll slide this in right up to the edge where the. And you turn it over to line it up here on the bottom. Using my little razor blade here. Line it right up where I want it, and I'll clamp it down. Then I'll take my razor blade, slide it. Well, I don't think that's going to work as well as I thought, but take it. You can bend this nice and flat that way. So now I have this piece. Okay. So now I'm going to move my plastic out of the way because I'm going to have glass right here on the thing here. And I'm going to take soldering flux, which is the stuff here. Be real careful with the soldering flux. This one Pacific size bottle, I have this habit of knocking the damn thing over. So take the flux, run it preferably on the inside of the joint here. It doesn't take a lot, just a little bit of flux. The fun part is if you have a little bit of solder sitting on the tip of your iron or gun, however you choose to use, which I have here, my little iron here. A little bit much. So I can just take the iron here and touch the joint, and it should suck the solder right into the joint. Now, I don't recommend holding it too closely to the side that you're trying to solder because the brass will get hot. Always try to keep your tip clean because if it's shiny silver, it'll transfer the heat fairly quickly and the solder will move very evenly. So now I have the two corners soldered. So now that won't break apart, because if you try to glue it together, they'll break.